When the U.S. legalized sports gambling in 2018, it boosted the finances of companies like FanDuel and DraftKings and the sports franchises themselves, but also led to a public health crisis we're dealing with now. Gambling addiction rose 30% from 2018 to 2021, according to the National Council on Problem Gambling.
Jonathan D. Cohen is Senior Program Officer with the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. His new book is Losing Big, America's Reckless Bet on Sports Gambling, and he joins us now. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. So 2018, the decision comes down from the U.S. Supreme Court. What has been done since then? Has anything been done in terms of putting any safeguards in place for protecting people in terms of online gambling?
Not really. I mean, of course, individual states, they regulate sports gambling, so they have, some guardrails in place. Companies can't just do whatever they want. Really, they can't, for example, allow children onto their apps. But really, fundamentally, the companies have sort of gotten whatever they wanted, with limited to few guardrails on sort of some of the serious things that we might consider to protect bettors.
Yeah, and not only that, but the algorithms are such that now it is so easy to bet on how many points a guy's going to get. It's constant and it's easy. Was government naive legalizing this?
I think if you ask Chris Christie in 2018, who was, behind the Supreme Court decision and the case to legalize it, what he was envisioning when he said, "Oh, New Jersey should legalize sports gambling," looks a lot different from what we ended up with. I mean, of course, Larry, I know you're a big fan of Malaysian women's doubles badminton, which you can legally bet on in a couple states. Yeah. So, I'm not worried.
Obviously, you look at the companies, FanDuel and DraftKings, clearly benefiting financially from this. But here in Chicago, we have a casino that was essentially approved because we have a huge budget deficit. Are states benefiting at all from this online gambling craze?
Yes, but not nearly as much as you'd think.
Okay.
So over the last 7 years, across 38 states that have legalized sports betting, they've raised around $8 billion in tax revenue. And say, oh, $8 billion, that's pretty good. But that's 38 states over 7 years.
Right.
And just for reference, the New York lottery raised about $8 billion in just the last 2 years alone.
Wow.
So it is a very small moneymaker in terms of relative to other forms of gambling and relative to state budgets and state expenditure.
Well, and then the question becomes about the net, because it's bringing in $8 billion, but then what is the cost, the societal cost of people losing jobs from addiction and so on? Is anybody developed any calculations on that yet?
No, but let's talk offline, because that's exactly the kind of thing that I'm looking into doing next, and saying, okay, on paper we raise $8 billion, but as you alluded to, people who have gambling problems, they go to bankruptcy court, they get divorced, they commit white collar fraud to bolster their gambling.
Yeah.
So what are the true costs societally for that money?
Huh.
And we hear these commercials, like, oh, you bet big and you're going to lose big, or, if you have a gambling addiction, call this number, which always seems to be totally ineffectual, to be perfectly honest. But what are some real safeguards that could be put in place? I imagine limiting deposits would probably be one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, right. And so I think, for example, when you put money into your account, there's a waiting period of some kind for until you can bet that money, because this is to stop what's called loss chasing, where you lose money on the Cubs and you say, oh man, I'm so mad, I'm going to try to double back and win my money right away on a new bet, and you put in more money and you start chasing and chasing and chasing. So there are lots of sort of little policy ideas like that. Another big one that gets brought up a lot is limiting the VIP programs that are used to sort of track and identify and entice big volume, big money bettors into, well, some of them aren't even big money people. There's people who are betting more money than they can afford, and getting them to lose a lot of their money.
And do they know for sure that these young men gambling are over 18? That's the first part of my question. The second one is, it seems like that the percentage of problem gamblers is about 3%. I would have thought higher, but some states 20. Why is there a discrepancy there?
Yeah, so with young men, I would say DraftKings and FanDuel do a good job of age verification. Mm-hmm. The problem is that a lot of parents don't do a good job because they think that gambling is harmless and they just let their high school kids onto their app, which I do not recommend anyone does.
Wow.
There are other apps that have weaker age verification, but the big companies in sports gambling do a good job. And so when it comes to sort of other protections for them. That's I'll start there. Certainly, I think parents should be really aware of what they're letting their kids walk into, and should not be letting under 18-year-olds gamble in the first place.
So why do some states have 20% problem gamblers and others have 2 or 3?
Right. Thank you. So it's the 20% statistic is from a state like New Jersey, and I think a big factor there that is only a factor in 7 states is the legalization not just of online sports betting, but online casino gambling, slot machines and the like, right on your phone. And those are really, I can speak from firsthand experience here in Connecticut. Those are really scary and much more addictive than even online sports betting, not to mention the lottery or in-person casino.
It's always interesting to me because FanDuel and DraftKings always gets a lot of criticism, but the NCAA is clearly benefited in some way from this surge of online gambling and all the attention that these games are getting. Can you talk about what role do you think that they should play in terms of whether they should have any role at all, I guess, in terms of looking at online gambling?
No, it's a great question, because you've pointed to the exact sort of criticism or paradox, I guess, of legalized sports gambling, which is the leagues claimed for so long that gambling was bad, and that gambling should be illegal because it was bad, because it would threaten their game. And then the moment it became legal, they said, oh, gambling is great. We need to make as much money from gambling as possible. We need to have our games as closely intertwined with gambling companies as possible in order to protect the integrity of our products. So I think the NCAA has sort of taken the most cautious approach to gambling, but then of course promotes brackets all over the place, because that's how they drive interest in the tournament. Well, my bracket didn't go well. Thanks for asking. So I think that there's a real question there of, in the short term, gambling is good for the leagues because it maintains interest in their product. But over the long term, what's going to happen if we have a nation of sports fans who aren't actually sports fans, they're just gambling fans who happen to gamble on sports? And what is that going to do for the leagues over the long term? I think that's a question that the commissioners should be asking themselves.
All right, the book is Losing Big, America's Reckless Bet on Sports Gambling, and you can follow Jonathan on the socials. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Very
Jonathan.
interesting.
Thanks. Good luck with your brackets.
Mine's broken already. Thanks, Jonathan.